Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to cover the graphs of the three basic trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent. I have each of the graphs written up on the board and I'm just going to kind of go through and explain each one in depth. So for the sine function, I have that graphed here. It's on this graph, it's in the domain of negative 2 pi to 2 pi. But the graph actually goes on forever. It goes for all real numbers for the x values. But it does stay between negative 1 and 1 for the y values. So what I have here, I'm just going to go through one period, we call it, one kind of full rotation, full set of each of the graphs. At 0, we'll start there. The sine function is equal to 0. After that, at pi over 2, the sine function is equal to 1. And then it kind of slopes back down at pi. Sine is equal to 0, so the sine of pi is equal to 0. Then it kind of heads back down to 3 pi over 2, you get negative 1, and then it comes back up to the x-axis at 2 pi. And what this is just kind of one set of the sine graph. We call that a period. And so, this is going to just keep repeating like this forever and forever and forever. And that's why I've also done this negative set here, from negative 2 pi up to negative 3 pi over 2, down to negative pi over 2, to 0, just to show you guys how this pattern, it just repeats and repeats. And so that covers the sine graph. Now for the cosine graph, which I have here in the middle, it's very similar. It has a similar period from 0 to 2 pi. It'll go through one full cycle of it from 0 to 2 pi. And all that means is that at 0 and at 2 pi, you're going to get back to the same value that you started with. So I'm just going to go through it again. This time, the cosine of 0, you actually start at 1, not 0 like you did in sine. But for cosine, you're going to start at 1. After that, it's going to start heading down. At pi over 2, you get cosine is equal to 0. You're going to keep heading down actually this time. That's a little bit different than the sine graph. At pi, you'll get cosine of pi is equal to negative 1. You'll start heading back up across the x-axis at 3 pi over 2, then come back to 1 at 2 pi. And once again, I've drawn kind of another period of this to show you how it repeats. It'll go down, and back up and up again. And this is true for both the sine and the cosine graph. They're always going to be repeating. They're actually based on the pattern of waves in the world. And so, waves are just going to keep repeating and repeating their pattern. And once again, the range for the cosine function is negative 1 and 1. So you know that the value for sine or cosine is always going to be between those two numbers. Now, here we have the graph of tangent. It's a little bit different, as you can see. It's not really connected completely all the way. It's more of just kind of a repeating pattern, though. We still have the repeating pattern. And so what we have vertical asymptotes every measure of pi over 2. So at negative pi over 2, we have a vertical asymptote. And all that means is that the graph will never cross this vertical line here. And then it crosses the x-axis at x equals 0. And then there's another vertical asymptote at pi over 2. And so in between that, the tangent graph will kind of it'll come up and then kind of hook around as it hits the origin and hook back up. And it'll never cross this line, but it'll come very close to. And then every pattern that it'll repeat, it'll just do the same thing, but this time it'll be between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And so, it's just going to the same kind of hook up and up around. And what these graphs all tell you, it's the value that you'll get at any point of these functions. So, for example, if I wanted to know what the cosine of pi was equal to, I would just find the value there, which would be negative 1. So this works for all of the graphs. You can use those to find the values of the functions. Thanks for watching this video. Have a good day.